Welcome to the Cup of Joe Show, where we explore the journey of recovery from alcohol and drug addiction. One story, one conversation, and one step at a time. I'm your host, Joe, creating a safe space for honest discussions about the challenges and triumphs of addiction and alcoholism. In each episode, we'll hear inspiring stories and uncover tools that make healing possible. Sobriety is not a one-size-fits-all journey, and you don't have to face it alone. Recovery is possible, and it's worth it. Thank you for joining the Cup of Joe Show. Now let's get started. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Cup of Joe Show. I'm really excited about my guest today. Today we get to listen to Ms. Ann Y. Ann began her recovery journey September 3rd, 1985, and has spent nearly 4 decades living a life of purpose and service. She's a wife to Steve, a mom to Rosie, and a dog mom to Dolly, a 3-year-old Dachshund hound who's actually ready for a little sister. Ann holds degrees in music and human ecology, and her talents as a singer, pianist, and conductor only matched by her passion for helping others. A licensed alcohol and drug addiction counselor, she began working in the field just 4 months clean and sober, and has been guiding others toward healing ever since. When she's not working, you'll find Ann gardening, thrifting, or spending time with friends. Her heart for suicide prevention and mentorship in recovery has changed countless lives. And today we'll hear her story. So grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and let's get into it. How are you doing today, Ann?
I'm good, Joe. Thanks for having me on.
So grateful that you're giving us the opportunity. So tell me, what was it like growing up, Ann?
Okay, so having almost 4 decades clean and sober means I'm old. So let's say
perfection.
Yeah, there you go. I often tell people I was pickled at an early age. People say, "Oh, you don't look your age." I'm like, "Thank you. I was pickled." So I grew up. I was born in the 50s. Grew up in the 60s and 70s in a small town east of here called Newport, Tennessee. From a very affluent upper middle class family with lots of folks who are absolutely overachievers. I have a great uncle who was assistant Surgeon General to the United States. I have another cousin who is a world-renowned author. So and I'm an alcoholic. So it was, it was great. It was a small town, and everybody knew everybody and everybody's business. And so I learned at a really early age to be everything to all people, to be in church every Sunday and sing in the choir and be a 4-H all-star and win leadership awards and make great grades. I was a all-state vocalist, so it was that kind of life. That was what I learned how to present myself to folks. But there was another side. There was the side that was, to be honest with you, I was in high school in the 70s. So, the world was different than the Beatles, Jimi Hendrix, Woodstock. And so the world had, it went from June Cleaver to pretty crazy times. And so there was a lot of exploration, and there was a lot of alcohol and drug use at a pretty early age. Yeah.
Do you remember the first time you felt the effects of drugs and alcohol?
I really don't. I think probably the first time I drank to excess. I remember lots of times out in the backyard with all my neighborhood friends drinking Annie Green Springs and Boone's Farm and smoking some pot. back there. Yeah.
But that so growing up 70s, a lot of different stuff being experimented with and all that. So were there any what was your attitude towards alcohol and drugs? Like do you remember?
Well, I like the attitude at that point was I mean, was drug, sex, and rock and roll. I mean, that was in the 70s. I mean, it was hippies and free love and um, share. Rock and roll was, in its hard rock was in its infancy, and so there was just a real attitude of freedom, and I don't know how else to explain it now, but I knew, and that was amongst my friends. That wasn't amongst my parents whatsoever. They were very um, very straight-laced and prim and proper, and mother was a good Southern woman who said please and thank you, and behaved accordingly. So it was really a dual life or dual time, because I didn't present myself that way when I was in their presence or doing things out in the community. But at high school, we had an official cheer, but the unofficial cheer was we raised hell from 7 to 11. We're the class of 77. So our senior trip went to New Orleans. Who takes their senior trip to New Orleans and to the French Quarter? Well, we did. Today I shake my head and think, what were they thinking? What were we thinking? We all came back, which is good, but it was interesting times.
So after high school, you go on to college, and did you go to UT, or where did you go to college, Ann?
Well, I started with an associate's degree at Walter State in music education, and then went on to University of Tennessee. I went to Knoxville to live with my brother. I have a brother who's 18 months older than I am, and so I moved right on in. He was in a fraternity. Boy, that was fun. And finished a bachelor's degree in music, and then went into the workforce all the time. I mean, college is just exactly what everybody else is going to tell you we did in college. We did it, right? I can also tell you that it took me a little longer to finish college, and it wasn't because I wasn't studying or anything. I mean, I made honor roll and stuff. I don't know how, but I did, and but I took every class I could get my hands on. I really had a thirst for knowledge, for learning, and made really good grades, and and then there was the World's Fair. That was probably a turning point. It was 1982, and my family had do you remember the Old Smoky Lounge up on top of the World's Fair site? Let's see, we had 3 stages. It was all the great music of Tennessee. Coco Taylor was singing up there, and Red Rector, and there was a moonshine still from Monteagle, Tennessee, and there was the Stokely Folklife Festival, and so there was a restaurant and it was a bar, and I got a job in the bar as a waitress, and it was we had that moonshine still up there, and the requirements for having a operating moonshine still at the 1982 World's Fair was that all the alcohol had to be disposed of daily. And we took that very seriously, that the alcohol had to be disposed of daily. So you know exactly what we did.
I'm guessing you didn't pour it down the sink.
No, we made up all kinds of drinks in that bar using moonshine. And I'm sure it was illegal, but hopefully it It's not today, but and I tell you, things made lots of money. I would get up and sing with the band, and people would just give me money. And I was doing an internship for college, and I don't know how I made it through that, with singing in the band, making sure the moonshine was taken care of, working in that bar every night, and doing an internship for college. But I graduated, but I left the 1982 World's Fair with a significant problem. That was I call it the beginning of the end, because I left there with a really serious habit that couldn't be quenched without the 1982 World's Fair being there. And so I started getting into a lot of trouble in everything I did past then. And it would take another 3 years or so before, it was 1985. I got clean in 1985. It took me till April of 1985 to feel the desperation. I had the gift of desperation, where I could not continue to live the way I was living. And the biggest issue for me was how I felt I disappointed my family. I have a wonderful family, but they didn't know what to do with me, because, I was the one who had sung in the church choir and done all that. And here I am, really in a deep alcoholism and drug addiction state, and things were not going well for me. And I had a moment of clarity. And it came from a TV Guide article. Now, some folks out there aren't going to know what a TV Guide is, but a long time ago, in the 80s, we didn't have a menu on the TV. You had to find out what was going to be playing on TV, and they published a magazine called the TV Guide. And it featured different stories every week, and you'd get one weekly. And you know what? We didn't live without that TV Guide, because it was the keys to the kingdom about what to watch on TV, right? So there was an article on there about Julie in the Love Boat. And Julie in the Love Boat was telling everyone about her addiction. And I thought, oh my gosh, because the way she described it, I thought, oh, that's what's wrong with me. That is who I am, and that is where my life is going. And I, in a moment of clarity, I went to my parents and said, oh gosh, I'm in trouble. I can't stop. And so they took that very seriously. That moment of clarity didn't last very long for me. I said, oh yeah, so I'll stop, and I've got this. Well, that's not the way it works, because I had no resources to be able to do that. But my dad specifically kept watch. And in August, he confronted me that this was not going well, that I had not stopped using and drinking. And so he made an appointment for me to have an evaluation done it was a place called Phoenix, over on Alcoa Highway. And, that was actually the admission unit for Peninsula. And I don't know if you know this, but in the 80s, Peninsula was the premier alcohol and drug addiction treatment center in this area. So I did my evaluation, and I don't think I understood they would do a drug screen on me, but they did. And they did. It was one, back then you didn't get results right away. So that I had the evaluation, and that weekend, my cousin was a bartender. My cousin Lisa, who died from this disease, who drank herself to death, was a bartender in Gatlinburg, and they were closing down a bar. She was like, Ann, you got to come help me drink this alcohol. I'm like, I'm there. So I went up, and, we were like dancing on the tables and stuff, but I don't remember a lot of the weekend, but we closed that bar down, and we drank everything we possibly could out of it. And on the way, it was it was Labor Day. And that next day was my appointment to go get my results from my evaluation. And so I got the results, and they were not good. They were not good. They said, "Ann, you have a problem and you need help." And I was like, "Well, yeah, okay, right." And so I'd gotten myself into all kinds of trouble, and I thought, well, this is one way out of it, I think. And I ended up going to treatment, and it was September 3rd, 1985. And so I went to treatment, and that was the beginning. I'm one of those one white chip people, and I'm grateful for that, because by the time I got there, I really was whooped. And I wanted nothing to do with drugs. Now, alcohol was another story. I felt like I did not want drugs anymore, not at all. But boy, I missed alcohol. I really did. And somebody had said to me, "And just, is your life better today?" And I'd say yes. And they'd say, "So you didn't drink today, right?" And I'd say yes. And they'd say, "Okay, just remember that one day. Just don't drink today." I remember my life changed in that treatment center. And, for those folks who've been around a while, the names of the people who were a part of my treatment are legendary in this town and in this region. I had the cream of the crop. I had the best of the best at the time in addiction and alcohol treatment. And I'm really grateful for that. And those people would go on to build more treatment centers and do some really pretty incredible work throughout the region in the field of addiction and alcohol treatment. I remember being, I was lost for the first couple of weeks. I slept a lot, but I was pretty lost. And I would kind of hide in my room, and they wheeled a piano into the solarium and said, "Get out here and play this." And I thought, oh my gosh, that's exactly what I need to do. And that's what kind of when my healing started, is I remembered my love of music, and the healing power of music is just really pretty phenomenal. And it really started me on the path to recovery. And about somewhere close to the last week I was there, I stayed 27 days. They let me out one day early. And I don't know, it's about probably the third week or something. God, Peninsula was gorgeous. I had a room that was looking at the lake. It was really beautiful. And I remember sitting there looking at the lake and thinking, oh, this is what my life has been about. Okay, I'm supposed to use all of this to help others. It really was a spiritual awakening in that moment. And I've been on that path ever since. I mean, I didn't know how to get there, but I had that thought that I was supposed to help others recover. And so I did everything they told me to do. Well, from then on, kind of, not really. Okay. If we're going to be honest, no, I didn't do everything they tell me when they tell me, but I tell other people to do those same things. So I went into, today you call them a recovery house. Back then we called them a halfway. Now that's a different terminology, but I went into a recovery house, and there was a women's and an adolescent girls next door. And so some pivotal points in my recovery happened in those 4 months I was there. We did group once a week with the adolescent girls. And I just naturally went in. I don't know. I would start role playing with, like, one of the girls had a hard time in school. And I said, well, let me be the teacher. Let's talk it through, and we would just do things like that. And I guess I caught the attention of the woman who ended up being one of my strongest mentors in all things recovery, Patty Mitchell, Dr. Mitchell, who called me out and said, "Hey, I want you to work for me. We're starting a new treatment center for adolescent girls, and I want you to be my staff." And I was like, "What?" I said, I'm gonna have to pray about this. And I did pray about it, but I also went to all the old staff and said, "Should I do this?" Because I thought I had 4 months clean. That was pretty crazy, to do that. And they all said, "Don't do it." So of course I did. No, they didn't. Half of them said, "Ann, I'm not sure you're ready." And the other half said, "Go for it, Ann." And so, I felt like it was my calling at that point. And no, I had no clue what I was doing. So I started working in the field, and the treatment center at that point was a long-term residential facility for adolescent girls, and it was out in the woods, and we built log cabins, and we lived in them, and we carried water, and we chopped wood, and who in their right minds would give adolescent girl axes, but we did. And it was magical there in the beginning, building those cabins with women, doing it, because none of us knew how to do that, right? And it was so empowering. And there was a young lady who would scream at me. I bet I cried every day for 6 months in the beginning, working in the field. And I would go to Patty and I would say, "What do I do? What do I do?" And this young lady would scream at me, "I hate you. You're not my mother." And I would just cry. And then I got better. And I finally got better to one day. She said that same thing to me. And I said, and every day I thank God I'm not your mother. And things got better from there, because I began to think, oh, wait a minute, this isn't about me. I finally figured it out. It's not about me. I'm a good person. I'm trying my best. This is about you. And so, things got better. And I've been working in the field ever since, and that's a long time. But I spent a long time. I spent 17 years at that particular facility, and some people say sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. And I think I spent 22 years at the place I went through treatment. So some are sicker than others. I think it saved me, to be honest with you. I don't know if I would have made it out in the world, and we'll never know, because that's not the path I took. But I very quickly started learning about myself. And one of the things that, and Dr. Mitchell was such an amazing woman. I learned so much from her about how to be true to myself and how to self-examine, and really how to internalize the steps. What a gift that was to be in her presence. And she died probably 4 or 5 years into my journey. But her presence is still felt. And then there's been a long list of women like that who have been a part of my journey, who have really helped me become who I'm supposed to be. I'm very attracted to very strong, independent women. And so I seek women like that to surround myself with, and be a part of what I call my posse. So that's true even today, all these years later. But I spent a lot of time really trying to figure out how to live this way, and by virtue of me living this way, teach others how to live this way. And it's been quite the journey. I spent 22 years with that particular organization in lots of different roles, clinical and leadership roles. I got my master's degree. In that point, I started working on licensure, and really tried to learn my craft because I wanted to be good at what I was doing. And I think I am. I hope I am. I hope I'm affecting change. I hope folks affect change, in their lives. There's been a lot of pieces to that. One of the important pieces was involvement in a women's conference surrounding the Smokies. I didn't go the first 2 years. The first year because I wasn't clean yet, but the second year I was a month clean, and the women said they were going. I was like, "What, are you crazy? I'm not going to the mountains with a bunch of women. I'm not going to." But by the next year, I was sold on the power of women helping women heal. And so I've been going ever since. I haven't missed Serenity and Smokies. Now, last year it got canceled because of the hurricane. But this year we'll have the 40th anniversary up in Carson Springs, up in Newport. It's just a beautiful, beautiful experience. It's a life-changing experience. I can't tell you how many women I've said, "Come on, we're going." You're going to learn something about yourself this weekend that you just didn't know you needed to learn, and it's going to be life-changing. And so that's been an important piece of my journey, being a part of that women's conference all these years. And I'm still a part of it and still absolutely love it. There's been lots of women who are a part of that, who are really dedicated to dedicated to becoming who they're supposed to be. And so that's kind of the women I like to surround myself with. So I've done it.
And I'll put.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say I'll put a link to that too, Anne.
Oh, great!
In this episode, yeah, because I don't get to go, of course, but my wife goes and works with Anne and it is, I know for her, life changing. So I'm so glad you mentioned Serenity in the Smokies. I'll be quiet.
No, please don't be quiet. We have a website, serenityinthesmokies.com, but it's not well promoted in the internet world, so it keeps trying to direct me to a defunct real estate company. But keep trying, ladies. Keep trying. You'll get there. It's there. Serenity in the Smokies, IES is maybe the key to that. But yeah, so that's the kind of thing. I went on to work at another facility where I was the director of residential services. At some point, it changed. My focus changed from really helping individuals heal. I mean, that's still in there, but my focus has changed more to the people working in the field, to helping them become who they're supposed to be, addiction professionals, to where, we raise the quality of treatment in the recovery community, both in recovery housing and in treatment and in treatment centers. And so part of my love, my passion today is really helping guide folks in figuring out how they become an addiction professional and do the work they want to do. How do you get from a place where you've been in prison, you've been, or you've been on the street, or you have been so depressed you don't want to get out of bed, to a place to where you have transformed that into helping others heal. It's really an amazing process. And it would be great if it paid more. However, it's really so very rewarding to affect change in people's lives. So,
how has your being in the addiction field, being there so long, and helping the addicted become professionals to help the addicted, like, how has your view of addiction changed over the years?
Well, I mean, I've got 40 years of education. Now it's changed drastically. There was a time when I was adamantly opposed to medically assisted treatment, to Suboxone and 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 then I got really tired of seeing people die, because this is what's changed so drastically is today. What I say is, where there's breath, there is hope. And so whatever I can do to keep somebody alive until maybe they have the opportunity to get clean is worth exploring. It's worth doing. So that part of my belief system has significantly changed. I believe there's more to it than taking medicine. I mean, I think there's a lot of work that has to be done, but that's true for anybody entering recovery. There's no one piece that's it. It's emotional, physical, spiritual, mental. It's all of those pieces that have got to be worked on. So that's true even if somebody is having a Vivitrol shot. I mean, who cares? That's just a tool. It's just a tool to help somebody, breathe the next day, to maybe have a chance, an opportunity to have those aha moments where life changes and we see things in a different way. So, I mean, that's probably the biggest one. I got clean in 85. I mean, in 85, they were still doing scare stuff. And I mean, listen, I've been sober so long, I've never had a wine cooler. They didn't make them yet. So there's a lot of things have changed. And you know what? I'm really okay with that. But there's just the world of addiction treatment has changed drastically in that time. And I feel like it keeps getting better. We keep getting smarter. The part about stigma and the taboo of being an alcoholic, I've never done a podcast, or I've never done anything like this before, because there was a time when my family would have been embarrassed, that I'm saying these things out loud. But today it's okay. I'm going to say them anyway, because part of me now understands that if I keep quiet, then the stigma continues. That me, Anne, who is, fairly accomplished in my lifetime, is an alcoholic and a drug addict. And so here I sit, and I live a pretty terrific life. I've been to Paris this year. What a gift to be able for your daughter to say, meet me in Paris, and you go, right? What an incredible thing. And so okay, here I am. This is it. Take me as I am, right? So hope they're not embarrassed, but if they are, that's on them, not me.
I don't think anyone could be embarrassed of you, Anne. I would just say that. I think what you've done with your life is absolutely admirable, and and all the other accolades, the singing that you do, which is unbelievable, and you bring a lot to the table. So, how did you rebuild like the trust with your family and your friends? I know it's been, but I know that was a big deal. So how did that happen?
One day at a time. I mean, that, all those things are true, is that, so to be trusted, I have to be trustworthy. And so I started really looking at, it's really been an interesting journey, and one I really wouldn't trade for anything is the gift of the life that the 12 steps gives me. Is I'd say this all the time to folks: hey, you need to work the steps until you become them. And what I mean by that is living by spiritual principles for somebody like me doesn't come naturally. I have to work at it. And so If I want to live an honest life, like, golly, the lies we told, right? And our addiction and our alcoholism, we told the lie so many times that we became the lie, it became our truth. And so how do you roll that back? Well, it's by making a decision today to be honest. And what I mean by that is it's not perfection. There's no perfection involved in any of this. But some days I say, okay, today I'm going to be as honest as I can be. And what that might mean for that day is I don't exaggerate. I'm really good at exaggerating. That I waited for 3 hours. Well, it was 3 minutes. Okay. But that's silly. I'm really talking about things much more serious. Like, okay, I'm not going to tell that lie. I have no reason to tell that lie. I'm not going to tell the lie. And I'm going to say what I need to say. I'm not going to omit things that need to be said. And so today I'm going to be as honest as I can be. And as I practice it, because I have to practice that, then I become that person. And I said in a meeting the other day, how do you know when you've become the steps? Is when your behavior changes, right? And I use the example of, when you're going down that Interstate 40 and someone cuts you off and you wave at them instead of shooting them a bird, right? And then somebody else commented in the meeting, I'm not there yet, Ann. And you know what? I'm not there every day either. But some days I wave and I smile at people instead of cussing them, right? And so when you say, how did people start trusting me again, is I had to work at being trustworthy. So I've always had mantras throughout my recovery. And there was a time when my mantra was, Ann, do what you say you're going to do. And all of that was about becoming trustworthy. That if I gave my word, I kept it. So that is living that spiritual principle. But I tell you what, we have to practice those. It's not magic. And people think, oh, now I'm in recovery, all that's going to be well. No, it's going to require work and dedication to becoming. It's going to take practicing perseverance. One of my good posse girls says, and love and tolerance is our code. And I remember that. That's right. Love and tolerance is our code. And so we behave that way. So I did it just that way by becoming a person who kept her word. And, it got to a place to where my mom started celebrating my clean date. She would give me presents. I was like, oh, this is good. Thanks, Mom. Gosh, I miss her. She's been gone a long time now, but
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
Yeah. I was with her. I held her hand as she passed. What an honor that was to be with her and to have those moments that are priceless with someone. And that would not have happened had I not become the woman I am, right?
So I have a question because this always because you work so much in addiction and recovery, the community. How do you separate your personal recovery from helping people in like treatment and that kind of thing? Does that make sense the way I asked that?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's called boundaries and limits setting and understanding. That takes practice too. Seriously. I've worked really hard over the years to not react. And so how is that, that's a part of who I am, is to be able to be still and try to understand what's going on. And so I use that professionally every single day, but I use it personally too. When I am in the grocery store or trying to corral my dog or, in whatever way. I go to meetings and I talk in meetings, and I think it's important that I talk in meetings. There was a long time I didn't say a word, and I thought, I'm not helping anybody including myself, by just being quiet. I need to speak. And so I've made it a real point to speak in every meeting I'm in, even if it's just to say, hello, I'm here. I'm glad to be here. I'm grateful. Right. But also, friends of mine had decided not to pick up chips anymore. And I'm like, no, we are not going to do that. People need to understand that we can do this, and we can do this long term. And so I want you, we're going to celebrate your birthdays, your anniversaries, and we're going to do it in a very public way. And I'm buying you a cake. We're going to do this. So how do I separate personal from professional? I have good boundaries. I have good boundaries.
That's a big deal. I always think about that's got to be challenging. It's got to be challenging. But what are some of the best things that have happened to you since you've been sober? You've had a long time sober, so I need to know just some of them.
Well, some of them you've experienced. I found the love of my life, my soulmate, Steve. And we have a daughter together, Rosie, who's never seen either one of us take a drink. And she's 26 years old, right? So she's had the benefit. And Lord, I had 10 years clean before I had 14 years clean before I had her. So, she's had the benefit of two parents who work programs. And, what an amazing thing. So that's probably the best thing I've ever done is be a mom, a wife to Steve, and a mom to Rosie. There's been lots of wonderful, wonderful things. I've gotten a chance to travel and see the world. And my daughter is successful. And what are the best things that's happened to me? You know what? I've got tons of things. I'm so grateful. I'm respected in the field and looked up to for my experience, strength, and hope. And that's something I cherish every day,
That's a big deal. And you are so well respected. And I know one lady that I lived with who absolutely adores you, for the record.
Well, it's mutual. I absolutely adore Katie. I do. I'm glad to be in her circle. Yeah.
And I know she's glad to be in yours as well. So what's a typical day for you look like now, Ann?
I have the most incredible job to end my career. I am the director of recovery support services at a recovery community center. And so I was brought on to program this recovery community center. And so I was like, oh my gosh, it's so much fun. I get to play every day. Like the first thing I did was I had wanted to start a women's step study. And I'd wanted to for years, but I didn't have a place. That's the first thing I did. And I'm so happy with that. There's like 50 to 70 women come, and they bring their babies, and we talk about steps, and it's a deep, meaningful meeting. And I'm just so tickled to be a part of that. And so the men got jealous and they started one. And so that's great. So I'm getting to, we have art and music and schemas and fellowship meetings, all fellowships, all kinds of them, including Al-Anon, AANA, DAA, women's specific, men's specific. We have done something called All Recovery for those folks who are on medically assisted treatment. There's still so much stigma surrounding it. So it's a judgment-free zone. We have one of those meetings every day where folks can come just get support and stay clean. We've created a coffee shop. I get to play soberista, and who would have thought I would be running a coffee shop at this, at a recovery center. And it's oh my gosh, it's so much fun. And we have a gym and a personal trainer who comes in, and who's a recovery coach and a certified peer recovery specialist. So I've got everybody on the staff's recovering, and just really working hard to help others. And it's just a lot of fun. We're going to have all kinds of tailgates in the fall where we're going to watch ball games, and we're going to do it being clean and sober and eating barbecue, So I'm having the best time. I love what I'm doing. I love what we've created and what we continue to create. We have the opportunity right now to start a whole evening series, which, golly, I got some great news tonight. We're going to start a eating disorder support group in the evening at the center. And we've got Dharma Recovery is going to start meeting there on Thursday nights. And so, I'm just having so much fun. It's a great way to be at this part. And then as a part of it is I'm getting to teach folks how to be professionals in the field. I've started all kinds of education series, depending on what level you want to be. If you want to be a CPRS or a recovery coach or a licensed alcohol and drug addictions counselor, we have all kinds of pathways for you to come and learn and grow. And we keep it. It's a great team too. It really is a great team. Yeah. So I don't know if you've noticed, but I'm really quite excited about it and having so much fun.
I love that you are, and it is an amazing facility. And if with your permission, afterwards, I'll also put a link to that facility as well, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Because it is an amazing thing that Ann's involved in. And so what would you say to someone who might be listening, who maybe is feeling hopeless, and not knowing, wanting to stop, but maybe not knowing what to do?
I would say come see me. One of the things we do at the center is get folks treatment, get them into whatever level of care they need, whether they have resources or not. And because I've been in this for almost 40 years now, and that I know that there is hope. I know there's hope, and I have hope for folks because I've seen it happen over and over again. I've seen the miracles. No matter what the situation, there's a way for us to help you get to another place. But you've got to say you need help, and you got to come, you got to reach out, because I don't know who you are unless you do that. And there's, walk into a 12-step meeting anywhere in this country and say, hey, I need help. And somebody is going to help you. Yeah.
That's so true. I guess if what are some of the resources? I know you mentioned, you really mentioned, but I'm going to ask anyway. What are some of the resources that you would recommend to someone new in recovery?
Well, recovery is connection. Isolation is destruction. That this is a we disease. We must have other people in order to recover. So anything that you can do to be with folks who are recovering is a first step, because folks who are in recovery will tell you all about it and help you find a place to be. So it's one of the beauties of the recovery community center is that that's what we do there, is that folks are there all the time and getting together and talking and figuring things out. I am a firm believer in treatment for addiction. It is the easier, softer way. God bless everyone who has been able to go to a 12-step meeting and stay clean, because I don't really think I could have done that. There are people who have, and I'm so grateful for them. But the easier, softer way really is to go to treatment and let somebody protect you for a period of time and keep you away from substance. So the brain clears up enough to where you can make a decent decision. Addiction is a brain disease. And so what happens is that we really lose the ability to think clearly. And the thing that helps that is time. And it really takes probably 18 months for the brain to truly heal from alcoholism and drug addiction. So the luxury of time is one of the best things you can give yourself away from the substance, whatever it is. We have all kinds of resources in this state. We have the Red Line out of Nashville that is a 24/7 hotline for treatment. We have Lifeline coordinators throughout the state. We have one at my center who's for the East region, and it's their job to get somebody in treatment, whatever the level of care, whatever the resources are. Whether you have any or not, we can find a place because there are out there. The recovery housing is really, I think, improving across the state. There's some certifications out now, 10 are, that if you can get your recovery house certified, and it means it checks all the boxes. It's going to be a home, and it's going to be a social model, and it's going to be clean, and it's going to have enough bathrooms, and it's going to have food in the house, So there's really all kinds of different levels of care. There's intensive outpatient and partial hospitalization. We have, outpatient. There's all kinds of levels of care for folks who need it. Get to an addiction professional and let them help you figure it out what you need. I'm not saying call a treatment center. I'm calling somebody who's impartial, who can say, hey, let's talk it through and see what you need. And come with me to a meeting. Let's go. Come on. Let's see what you need, But there's tons of resources out there. There really are. There's hope.
There is hope. And you are such an amazing wealth of information. I hope that people listening really are taking notes of the places that you've mentioned, Anne. And I'll try to list some. I won't be able to list them all, but I will list as many as I can, I promise. So is there anything we didn't cover that you'd like to talk about?
I think when we talk about our families and we talk about being in addiction and learning how to build trust again and showing folks that we are trustworthy. One of the greatest gifts I think I received was from family when we got to the place to where I could teach them how to give me what I needed. Families are imperfect. Everybody has their own issues and their own life traps, their own schemas, their own reason they are how they are. And so if we can stay with it long enough, then we really can help folks give us what we need. I talk about, my mom and dad are both gone now. And so I talk about family of choice. So I still need a mama, I still need a daddy. So where do I get that? Where do I get that kind of nurturing? I have to find it. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I'm saying, how do we get what we need? We have to figure that out. What is it I need and how do I get it? And so I think if folks can understand that there's always options, we just have to think them through or talk them through or talk to our sponsor or, talk to people we trust and figure them out. How is it that I get what I need in this program? How is it that I get what I need to become the best version of myself and to be the best version of myself?
Well said. And I really appreciate you taking the time to share your experience, strength, and hope. You are absolutely amazing, Anne. You really are. And
thank you, Joe.
But I can't let you go without doing our rapid fire questions.
Okay.
So if you are ready,
We'll see.
All right. What is your favorite recovery slogan?
Think, think, think.
What is your least favorite recovery slogan?
First things first.
I like how you do the same cadence. What do you think is your sobriety superpower?
Oh, I know what that is. I'm going to have to explain it though.
Do it.
Okay. So, because I tell people this. So, you know how in our addiction, we were so manipulative. I mean, we could talk people into doing anything we wanted them to do, right? I mean, we could. So, how do we turn that into an asset? So, today, I use that same ability to motivate folks to change. So that what used to be manipulation now becomes motivation. So I think that's it.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. What song do you play to lift your spirits when you need a boost?
Oh my gosh, I'm a musician, so I listen to all kinds of things. I can tell you one of my favorite recovery songs, and your wife will know this, is Melissa Manchester, "Come In From the Rain." I changed the words just a little bit, but the premise of the song is come on in from the rain. There's a place for you where there's hope and love and joy. And then just about anything by the Beatles would be good. Let It Be, Imagine, all those things are great. But you know what? I put on Mozart too, and just really think, oh, how beautiful, just really incredible. I love all kinds of music. I love some good blues. Yeah, in the classic rock from the 70s and 80s. Yeah, can't help it. Yeah.
Still got that old hippie in you, Ann.
You better believe it. Yeah.
If you could grant yourself one wish to help with your recovery, what would it be?
That I would learn how to quit eating carbs.
Me too. Yeah. What step do you love the most?
10th. I quote it all the time. Spiritual axiom that whenever I'm disturbed, no matter what the cause, the reason is within me. I'm the only person I can change. I'm the only one who can make that. I can't change anybody else. It's just me. So how do I do that? It's mine. If I'm pissed off, it's because something's wrong with me, not you. So.
What step do you love the least?
Oh, I don't know. I don't love any of them. Well, making amends is pretty hard. But I've gotten to a place where I don't mind saying I'm sorry, because I usually am. If I've hurt somebody's feelings, I don't mean to hurt people's feelings. I mean, I don't mind. At one time it was very difficult, but I don't mind it anymore. I really love this program. I love the steps. Yeah.
What is one of your favorite movies?
Oh, I don't know. One of my favorite movies. Sound of Music, Wizard of Oz. I mean, it's going to be one like that because I don't want to put any too deep a meaning at this point. It's going to be something like that. Let's have Judy Garland sing Somewhere Over the Rainbow.
That's a pretty cool one.
Mm-hmm.
That's a pretty cool one. And if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Ah, well done, good and faithful servant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Ann, I truly appreciate you coming on the show today and sharing your story and your wisdom and your knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. I've enjoyed being with you.
A new episode's released every Thursday at noon. You can listen to the show in your favorite podcast apps, Apple, Podbean, Spotify, YouTube, and others. Just search for The Cup of Joe Show. Don't forget the "the." Like, follow, subscribe, and share because someone out there needs to hear this today. Have a good day, everyone.
It's just a laid back vibe, baby.
We hope you enjoyed today's Experience, Strength, and Hope. We are so grateful you decided to join us. Please share this episode with someone who might need it. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. Remember, no matter where you are in your recovery journey, you are not alone. Reach up and reach out to someone. Please do not suffer in silence. Until next time, let's take it 1 minute, 1 hour, and 1 day at a time. Thanks for listening to the Cup of Joe Show.